one of the things that popped about this Watt conversation the last couple of days is like, how he views a team based on the quarterback. And I texted a little message to the guys before, and I said, I didn't want to put them on the spot and make you rank them, coming in here, but it's just conversation. We don't have to sit here and put up a power rankings, but, it got me thinking, like, how is Baker Mayfield viewed in Cleveland? And, I was listening to a podcast recently, and I believe it's Ryan Wilson from CBS. Really like his work. He's a really great draft dude. He's on the Pick Six podcast with Will Brinson, and I listened to it quite a bit. And he kind of said that, coming off of the season, right or wrong, and I know Bills fans won't like this take, but that the shine on the Cleveland Browns might be a little bit brighter than the shine on the Buffalo Bills because of the way that they ended the season. Now, I disagree with that a little bit, but it got me thinking, like, how is Baker Mayfield viewed? Because for me, Josh Allen is in this crazy tier with Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers to a lesser degree, even at his advanced age. And then I think it's everybody else. And then you start tiering throughout that. But I feel like Baker Mayfield's kind of down that list. But where does everybody else fall in that? Because maybe I'm alone.
Man, I mean, it just like with food restaurants in town, it's easier to break things up into tiers than it is, I think, just outright ranking. So there's this guy ain't going nowhere tier. So that's Mahomes, and we're talking about young. I think we're gonna limit this to young quarterbacks. That's Mahomes, that's Josh Allen, that's Lamar Jackson, that's probably Kyler Murray in there. That's Joe Burrow, that's Justin Herbert. Those guys are, I think, bona fide nothing. Baker Mayfield, I think, is maybe in that next tier down, where I think you've got faith in him. If you're the Cleveland Browns, I think you just got a coach who figured out how to extract the most out of him. I think you probably want to see it for another year. I think that now that there's a year's worth of tape, they're going to get Odell back. Might get Odell back. I think you want to see it for another year, and then you feel really good about it. I think you pick this 5th year option up, and you let him play out year 4, and then you make a real decision between year 4 and 5. But I think guys like, obviously Mahomes already got his money. Josh Allen, I think, is probably going to, if they can make the numbers line up, he's getting a mega deal, I would think, this offseason. There's just that level. Deshaun Watson would be right up there if the Texans didn't just completely fumble that bag. And but I think Baker is probably that tier right below, where the Browns say, okay, we can win with him. I don't know if he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league, but I think we can win games with him. We feel comfortable where we're at.
Young Kirk Cousins, right? I mean, that's kind of what I feel about him. Like, I feel like he's just the younger Kirk Cousins, the kind of guy that here's the ultimate decision that you pay or that you come to when you have a Kirk Cousins is, man, Wyatt Teller is going to make top dollar in one season as one of the league's best interior offensive linemen, right? After an unreal season this year, you're going to assume he has another great year next year, and then he's going to get paid top dollar. What if you move an all-pro from the interior of that offensive line and Baker Mayfield starts getting more pressure from up the middle? I'm going to tell you what the stats say, not good things. So for me, he has the best offensive line in football. He's got the best run game in football. And those are two, and one of the easily one of the most guarded quarterback systems in football, where I look at Josh Allen, and I talked about this on an earlier podcast. Josh Allen was indoctrinated in an Air Perkins system that's actually really not young quarterback friendly. And he literally got thrown into one of the most nuanced offensive systems in football. And in year 3 is thriving. Now you're talking about like the 4th different system that Baker Mayfield's on, and now he's in the one that protects him the most. It's hard to judge Baker Mayfield and how they're going to pay him on his next contract, because if he's going to get Josh Allen money, then he better be able to overcome not being able to pay all-pro guard and one of their running backs. Right? I mean, that's going to be the situation. So it's a conundrum for me. I like him, but I'm in no way putting him in the same tier as guys like Lamar Jackson. I mean, no way. Just not right now.
Yeah, completely agree with that. I caught some flack about an article I wrote about McDermott deserving Coach of the Year over Kevin Stefanski. And going just to Baker Mayfield alone, I don't know if we've seen his play elevate since his rookie year. I think the best we've seen out of him was as a rookie. Now, last year, that was just disaster all the way around, or 2 years ago, I should say, with that coaching staff, Freddie Kitchens, everything else that went there, nothing really worked. This year, he rebounded, but you mentioned it. The offensive line was really good. The running game is great. They leaned on the run early, and then they became more balanced as the year went on. But you look at the Browns' schedule, you look at how they got to the playoffs. They're, obviously third in their own division. Pittsburgh was hot in the beginning of the year. Baltimore's Baltimore. But they had a really easy go of it this year. They faced the NFC East. And I know it was the COVID week where they had no wide receivers, but they lose to the Jets. They beat Jacksonville by 2 points. They didn't have a lot of, really impressive wins. Tennessee, that was an impressive win. They almost gave it up late in the game. But you can go back to that season and say, I'm not sure that they are in that upper echelon where I think they're more realistically going to fall back next year when they face some more tougher competition. I think Baltimore's still going to be I can't say they're going to win the division, but I think they're the favorites to win the division. In my personal opinion, I think that they're set up for more success. I need to see it more from Baker Mayfield and this Browns offense before I can sit here and say they're a legitimate Super Bowl contender. Can you win with him? Yes. But if Watt is looking to win a ring in the next year or two, the Browns aren't in the same conversation as Buffalo. They're not in the same conversation as Green Bay. And I know we were talking about younger guys. They're not in the same situation, obviously, as Kansas City either.
I think a really interesting question is who you'd rather take right now, Joe Burrow, after knowing that he just had his big knee surgery, or Baker Mayfield moving forward. Who would you rather have of those two?
Joe Burrow, no doubt about it.
Yeah, in my mind, I think higher upside. Higher upside was doing more with a worse offensive line, was doing more with probably a worse set of skill players as well outside of T. Higgins. He does have Tyler Boyd. I mean, he had some decent receivers there, but he's running for his life most of the game. And I think he's got nowhere to go but up. I love that point that Ryan made. I think we saw peak Baker right out the jump, right out the gate. And it's not saying that that's a bad thing, because I mean, peak Baker is obviously a solid starter in the NFL. Not everybody's going to be a superstar. Like sometimes you just have a good starter. Like Matt Stafford has been a good starter his entire career, and he just got 2-3 first-round picks.
They're commodities too. Those mediocre quarterbacks, they got feelings too. And hey, there's a purpose for them in the league. Like, and those are guys that you can walk into a situation like the Rams and potentially win a Super Bowl because you have the pieces around you. So there's always a place. And listen, there's only room for 5 or 6 elite level quarterbacks in all the league. And that's just kind of how it works. And everyone else kind of has to slot in. And Baker just right now, to me, is not even, it's not a conversation that he's in with Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen or Burrow or even Herbert, in my opinion.
It's what a weird time it is. Like after this season that we just had, like I don't even think Lamar's in Josh Allen's tier. Which is such a weird thing to say because he's coming off of MVP season in 2019. And I think he still is some version of that guy, but I don't think I think Josh Allen's season that he had this year, I mean, it really, you put it up against some of the great seasons of the last couple of years. I'd argue that it kind of puts him in that Mahomes tier. And I think, but that's another conversation too, because there might not be anybody else in the Mahomes tier. Like I'm uncomfortable putting other dudes in the Mahomes tier. And I think that Josh is kind of like the closest, but again, to the Baker point, I think Josh, he's got some proving to do next year that this wasn't a one-year aberration as well.